Hey folks, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Stirling Albion and the RNG Nutters. Last episode we had just ended August with our first drop points in the league since the save began, to my brand new mortal enemies Dunfermline Athletic, who were also the cause of our exiting the Premier Sports Cup in the group stage, the Gits. We also made our way out of the transfer window, having lost an unholy amount of players, and replaced them with a couple of hitters, but mostly duds. Such are the ways of the mercurial gods of RNG. This episode we're going to go through to the end of January and see how well this new squad gels, as well as seeing if we can get through the transfer window unscathed. Since we'd lost our talismanic striker Nani, and failed to appropriately replace him, we were banking on Kato Yamada to pick up the slack. But even though he picked up a few goals, he's not leading man material. Ideally, you need great crosses, launching high balls at the lanky boy's face for him to nut home, but I play with inside forwards on the wings, so more often than not they're cutting inside. Fortunately, those boys picked up the slack. Especially Akhmetov, who has become a goal-scoring machine. He'd already picked up 10 goals in 11 games across all competitions, and he wasn't slowing down. He got us our first goal in September in the KDM Trophy against St Mirren's Reserves. Turned provider in the next match with 2 assists against Montrose in the league, scored twice and assisted 1 against Kelty Hearts, and assisted 1 more in a 3-1 win over East Kilbride in the KDM Trophy, ending September with 3 goals and 4 assists. In fact, he got some sort of goal contribution in every single game in September and October, except one, in a top-of-the-table clash against Wraith Rovers. After a very boring first half with no real chances, the deadlock was broken just 4 minutes after the restart when Rowe played Chin in down the right to pull the ball back for Vaughan to side-foot it in from about 8 yards. They scored an almost identical goal on the hour mark, Chin once again scoring the ball for Vaughan to slide it home from close range. They went 3-0 up 15 minutes later when Gordon curved one into the top right corner from about 14 yards out. Finally, after 14.5 months, we lost a game in the league, putting Wraith 1 point behind us. We bounced back immediately from this loss by demolishing Peterhead 5-2 at their place. And yes, Akhmetov got both goals and assists in this one. But then at the start of November we faced Cove Rangers in the league. The first highlight arrived just 8 minutes in when Cove put together a series of short passes in and around my box for Ennis to slot one home from 12 yards. It took until the 70th minute for the next meaningful action. Mercer played a long, deep ball into our area for Mabood to put in a headed cross that Hamilton got his own head on for Cove's second. We pulled one back 10 minutes later thanks to a Laref cross finding the bonds of Diallo, but we couldn't capitalise, and the game ended in Cove's favour. A second loss in the league in 3 games dropped us way down the league all the way to second, now 2 points behind Wraith. November in general was a pretty rough month for us. Our only win was this 3-1 home game in the league versus Montrose. We drew our next league match 0-0 in an away game against those scoundrels from Dunfermline, and drew both of our cup games 0-0 versus Dumbarton in the KDM Trophy, and 1-1 versus Inverness at their place in the Scottish Cup. Were we about to head into the classic Christmas period slump? Nah. We pulled on our big boy pants instead and got to work, starting with a Scottish Cup replay against Inverness, where we ran out 1-0 winners, followed by a 3-1 win in the KDM Trophy second round over Edinburgh. We kept winning, taking maximum points in the league with 4 wins in a row, putting us into another top-of-the-table clash against Wraith Rovers at the beginning of January where, if we win, we would regain top spot in the league. We took the lead after just 6 minutes. A well-worked corner routine reached Congolo to head in from about 2 yards out. 15 minutes later, we were 2-0 up. Congolo playing a long ball from inside our half, deep into theirs for Laref to control with 1 touch, then loop in across with his second for Taylor Nick to head in from 6 yards. We scored our 3.5 hour mark. Congolo playing a long low cross from the right to Rose, who was unmarked in a D. He hit it low and hard first time, powering it into the bottom right corner. We had a few more highlights, but that was the final goal of the game and giving us a comfortable win. It was the start of January, meaning the winter transfer window is open. My players had been steadily gaining interest from other clubs again over the course of the season, and this win seemed to open the floodgates, as every single one of my best players was under offer from multiple clubs, all of which I refused, which made some players very unhappy. I tried telling them that I'd let them leave in the summer, but none of them were happy with that option, so I put my foot down and refused to let them go, leading to a small rebellion of 3 or 4 players supporting their teammates. Unfortunately, for them, those filthy rebel scum were all fringe players, and so I punished them for their audacity and questioning my rule by offering them out for transfer and getting rid of the dead weight. I said I could refuse transfers in a window. I never said I couldn't force them out if I wanted. Wisdom Aqua, Kobe Condrade, and Tyler Williams were all shipped out for a total combined profit of £113,000. Wisdom had played one match all season, Tyler had covered a handful of matches at CDM, and Kobo was supposed to be on a backup left wing back, but almost every time we had a bad match, he was the one playing, not Gunul. So when he piped up to complain that I wasn't letting Gunul leave, I knew it was time to get rid of the turnip. I rolled their replacements and picked up 2 bowlers and 1 dud in the process. Maciej Kubicht, a Ukrainian right-sided defender, was the dud. On first blush, he looks pretty decent with his elite technicals and decent physicals, but few of his best attributes are ones he needs for his position. So whilst he looks great, he's actually fairly ineffectual in the role. Adel Abbas is a 22-year-old wing-back from Sudan. He's not quite as good as Gunul, but he's vastly superior to Koindradi. So he comes in not only as a replacement for Koba, but to challenge Gunul for the starting berth at left wing back. Abbas is 7 years younger than Gunul, so he has time to match and possibly exceed him. My favourite of the new nutters, though, is York Raphael, a 29-year-old Rwandan. Whilst his mentals overall are pretty poor, the RNG gods blessed him with elite technicals and physicals, perfect to be my new starting striker. Unfortunately, his position is left winger. They had some familiarity with the striker position, so I've decided to retrain him there, because I think he'll be insanely good at this level. The rest of the month continued well, with us winning every game, including 4-0 away to Forfar in KDM Trophy 3rd round, 2-1 away to East Kilbride in the Scottish Cup 4th round, and an absolute demolition job of Queen's Park in the KDM Trophy quarter-finals. We opened the scoring after just 5 minutes. A long clearance was picked up by Raphael, who played the ball out wide for Laref to make a run down the left, completely unchallenged, before squaring it back to an unmarked Raphael, who couldn't miss from 7 yards. 2 minutes later, we doubled our lead when an appalling goal kick from Queen's Park went straight to Diallo, who played the ball forwards for Raphael at the edge of the D. Again completely unmarked, he had time to turn and run into the penalty area before sliding it home for his second. There was a long gap of 60 seconds before we scored our third. Time of Wari playing a long pass over the top from deep in the half to the feet of Raphael on the edge of the area. He again turned and ran into the area to dink one in from virtually the exact same place as his second. 3-0 up and an 8-minute hat-trick for Raphael. It was an excruciating 9 whole minutes before we scored again. Diallo intercepted a pass from O'Neill at the halfway line and passed the ball back to Ndinga, who pumped the ball forward into the path of Raphael, who took it on the edge of the box and smoothly placed a shot into the bottom left corner. 4 minutes later, someone else was finally allowed to score. Denham sending his corner to the far post for Diallo to smoosh his face into, instead of the near post for Raphael. Unbelievably, it was 12 minutes before our next goal. 12! An almost identical goal to the last one. This time Diallo's face smoosh was parried by the keeper, a whole 1 yard to Kerwin, who stuck home easily. Then just 1 minute later, Raphael spread the ball out wide to the left for Laref, who squared it to an unmarked Congolo for an easy first time shot from 10 yards. We were 7-0 up after 34 minutes and we weren't letting up. Somehow though, against all odds, it took nearly 45 minutes before we scored again. Zamora started a very fast counter-attack after intercepting a poor pass by Francis. He quickly passed it to Kubricht, who played a first time pass forward for Congolo, who split the defence with a simple through ball for Raphael to score his 5th of the game. We rounded out the scoring in the 84th minute. Raphael picked up the ball just in front of the halfway line and ran past everyone into the box, drawing the defenders to him, leaving Song Hyok completely unmarked. A simple cutback and Song Hyok was free to drive one home from about 15 yards. But that wasn't our last match of the month. We had one more league game, at home against the new nemesis, Dunfermline Athletic. We went ahead on 20 minutes. Mark Nair intercepting a forward pass from Oliver, spread the ball out wide to Kerwin, who took it down the right and lumped in a nice cross that beat all the defenders, allowing Laref to rise and meet right on the edge of the 6th. And that was it. A few more highlights, but nothing of note. Finally, after 4 attempts, we've managed to do something other than draw. It may only be 1-0, but it feels so much more satisfying than that. We played one more match right after the transfer window ended, a 6-0 away win at Montrose in the league, that currently sees us top the table by 6 points. Thankfully, we managed to come through the window relatively unscathed, really only losing, and I use that term loosely, 3 backup players, despite heavy interest from other clubs and a few players asking to leave. Still, I expect the summer window is going to be another bloodbath, especially if we manage to get promoted and or win the Scottish Cup. But for now, that is where we're going to leave things. We've seen the first half of the season and the winter transfer window. Next video, we will go to the end of the season and see how things pan out. So, until then, if you're enjoying these videos, please like, share and subscribe, and as always, I hate to love you and leave you, so I'm just going to leave you. Bye bye!